Your teams.
Hell! It is Barner! It is Barner! And he's gone!
The Beavers are the national champions!
Brandon, a three-pointer out front. Hit it! Yes, he did!
His take.
Here's what I think.
Matt Bagley.
The Astros wasted a lot of money on public relations. I don't know how much they spent on their staff. I don't know who they hired, but I'm assuming they hired somebody, and whoever it is, that somebody didn't do their jobs. That was a horrible press conference today.
Talking local sports.
The owner of the team was asked, did you cheat? Because they wanted him to say, yes, we cheated. Yes, what we did is bad. Here's an apology. That's the common sense approach. That's what anyone in the world would have told them to say, but they wouldn't say it. He says, we broke the rules, but that wasn't cheating. This would be like a student cheating on a test, and you know all the answers beforehand, and you get caught, and you say, yeah, I broke the rules, but I wasn't cheating. In this instance, how can you break the rules and not cheat?
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
Hey everybody, Matt Bagley with you on a Thursday and a beautiful day in the Rogue Valley. Blue skies, warm weather. I thought about this earlier. I need a table and a couple patio chairs. I should be doing the show tonight in the sun because it is perfect outside. No guests. That means no rules. We kind of have a blank slate tonight. So whatever you want to talk about. When are we getting college football back? When are we getting Major League Baseball back? Do you like the plan they've put forward? How about the NBA? What about what they're trying to do? And what about what the NFL is doing? Kind of full steam ahead for now. And then I think the day after the draft, you're going to see a whole bunch of bad news when it comes to pro football and what they can do and what they can't do. And what do you think about all that? We'll talk about that tonight. Plus, draft night. What do you think about, say, Jake Luton, Oregon State QB, or obviously talk of the draft, Oregon QB, Justin Herbert? What do you think about that? We'll talk about all that tonight and more. And also talk about Dr. Jeffrey Smith. Let's get to him at the very top of the show, because I think this, while a little negative, is really informative. Dr. Jeffrey Smith, he works for the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors. Now, why is that important? That's the host city of the 49ers. San Francisco's in the name, but they play in Santa Clara at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. So Dr. Jeffrey Smith, member of the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors, said, quote, he doesn't expect any sports games until at least Thanksgiving. And we'd be lucky to have games by Thanksgiving. This is not something that's going to be easy to do. That is a quote from Dr. Jeffrey Smith, recorded by the Los Angeles Times. I want to hear from you. Do you think that is too harsh? Do you think that is unrealistic? Do you think that is spot on? What do you think about all of this? When are we getting sports back? 541-630-4792. For me, the question isn't when will we first get a sport back. I'm talking about the world of sports. I'm talking about the cycle that we used to have of football in the fall, and then football ends, and you have basketball, and then basketball ends, and it's baseball season. There was a cycle. There was a flow. There was always more than one event going on in the world, and they were all rolling from one to another. I think we might get a abridged season in any particular sport, say June or July, when the numbers look better. People might step outside. They might go out and party, go out and restaurant and all that. But I think what that comment from Dr. Jeffrey Smith to the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors gets at is the idea that we might have a false spring with this thing. And Oregonians, you know that term awfully well. Right now, we're in the midst of one. Early April, and we act like it's summer already. My boss this morning messaged us on our daily video conference from his backyard patio, and you see the blue skies and the sunshine, and he said he wasn't wearing pants. We all laughed. He was wearing shorts because the weather was nice enough to wear shorts. And I'm thinking about doing that soon. I'm thinking about doing the show from outside. And I guarantee you, in 3 days' time, it's going to be nasty and wet and cold. False spring. We get it every year. Well, the fear with coronavirus, is that you have a false spring. We stay indoors for a month and a half, and we don't do anything unnecessary. We don't infect a whole bunch of people. The cases don't get too overwhelming. The hospitals don't get crushed, at least here in Oregon. And then everybody has a victory lap come June or July, and we party and we celebrate because we think we beat this thing. And then just like the flu, there will be a second wave. The flu always comes back at least twice a year. So might this thing. A second wave. And by then, are people going to listen to authority? Are people going to listen to the scientists and the doctors and the experts that pushed this whole idea? Stay indoors, reduce human contact, right? It worked, but it might work so well that people think we don't need to do it. That they look at the numbers and they say, that's not a big deal. And then that second wave rolls around and the numbers get really serious again, and we realize we're not prepared this time, and then we have to shut down everything all over again. I think the fear that Dr. Jeffrey Smith is getting at is that we might have a false spring. You might have baseball for a month. You might have hoops for a month. But football season, that's a whole different ballgame. They could be in the middle of the second wave. We'll talk about that tonight. I want your thoughts on it because I can get kind of dark. I'll just be real with you. Like I've said before, I might be dark some nights. I might be positive and upbeat some nights. I'm always going to be honest. But I want your thoughts on this at 541-630-4792. When you hear a professional talk like that about how we're going to be lucky if we have sports around Thanksgiving, what do you put in that? What do you weigh that on? Is that right? Is that wrong? What do you think? Give me your take. 541-630-4792. We'll talk about that all night. Plus, what do you look for in a job? I'm dealing with this right now because one of my best friends is a counselor for like mental health. So people that might be on that they've had issues with suicide in the past, or they have just mental health issues that are grave, not Matt Bagley sitting on the crying couch and talking about my day and my upbringing. No, but real serious mental issues. People with crippling ADHD or crippling anxiety, or depression, severe depression. Right? Go to my friend who works in the Dalles. He was a college fraternity brother of mine, one of my closest friends growing up, and he is in a position where he doesn't really like where he lives, wants to be in a bigger city, but he can't convince his girlfriend to move with him, and he doesn't really like his employer that much. And he's got this job offer on the Oregon coast, and he doesn't know whether or not he should take it. And so he's reached out to us for advice, like, hey, let me know what we should do. Let me know what you think about this, guys, all of our fraternity brothers. And we're all chipping in things, and I'm telling him one thing, and my buddy from McMinnville was telling him another, and our friend from L.A. is telling him another thing entirely. And everybody's got their own advice because everybody has their own perspective on what they look for in a job. Some people, it's location. Where am I going to live? Some people, it's money. How much are you going to pay me? What are my hours going to be? What are my responsibilities going to be? That was big for me when I moved to Medford. When I moved to Medford, I got a raise. I got a better title. I wasn't a secretary anymore. I got to be a program director. Sounds real official. Sounds a lot better than here's our secretary, Matt Bagley. And I got responsibility. We want you on the air doing A, B, C, D, and E. And you might even get to do F. F was the radio show. That was all great for me. I jumped at that opportunity when I moved to Medford. It was better than anything I'd ever done in my life, and better than anything I've done or will do for quite some time. That was important to me. But if there were other factors I considered, maybe I don't move to Medford. And I know we are all giving my friend that kind of advice, but I ask that question to you. What do you look for in a job? Because I think that answer might be really telling for some of the things we are dealing with right now in the sports world. For starters, the NFL draft is in less than 3 weeks. And maybe the location is a big factor for a guy like Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe the responsibility, we want you to be our starting quarterback right away, is a big factor for a Joe Burrow. Maybe the money, the glitz, the glamour, a guy like Isaiah Simmons, you might want to be a New York Giant. You get the endorsement deals. You get the media, all the popularity of playing in the biggest market in the country. And maybe you don't want that. Maybe you'd rather go to Green Bay or go to Arizona or go to Vegas. I bet you there's a lot of guys that want to go to Vegas now. Raiders got to watch out for that. Oh, boy. That is a nightmare. I bet you in at least 5 or 10 years, you have a Pete Rose situation in the NFL. I'm not saying you have someone to his stature. I mean, Pete Rose is one of the greatest baseball players who ever lived. But you will have somebody get caught gambling there in Vegas. It's just too easy. Anyway, my point being, there are a lot of factors to consider with the NFL draft. And there are even more factors to consider when you see the contingency plans being put in place right now. Major League Baseball. What do you value in a job? Some of these players just want to play the game. Some of them want to make money. Some of them want the fame and glory. But some of them want to do it on their terms. The location's got to be right. You got to have time with your family. You got to have time off field to yourself. And I don't know if Major League Baseball can guarantee that. Same for the NBA. LeBron didn't join the Lakers because of money. LeBron joined the Lakers because of family. He lived in L.A. His kids went to school in L.A. You take that away from him. You force him to play in Vegas. Maybe LeBron James doesn't sign up for that. That's not what he's looking for in a job. You're playing basketball, but at what cost? There's a lot to consider with these contingency plans and a lot that I think we can relate to in our lives. What are you looking for in a job? What do you value in a job? We'll talk about that all night tonight. 541-630-4792. And next, let's look at a team that might be the best fit for Justin Herbert. One has a very serious decision to make. The other just has to figure out who to trust. That's coming up next. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. At Children International, we know that the journey to end poverty for good begins first with a child. It starts with their first checkup, lesson, opportunity, job. That journey takes commitment from people like you and me to end poverty for good. Learn more at children.org.
Jim Rome's got opinions.
Here's a topic I thought that I would never, ever have to address. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said 8 deputies allegedly took or shared graphic photos of the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash scene, but he ordered them deleted. End quote. What in the world is wrong with you? We have been trusted as law enforcement officials, have taken that and somehow made it worse. Be better than that, because you cannot be any worse.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
After I came home from Iraq, I could still hear the booms. Makes it hard to be a good mom.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I'm Naomi Mathis, Air Force veteran.
DAV helps veterans get the benefits they've earned.
Thanks to DAV, I was able to begin to heal.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory is being able to be here for my children.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Zion's different. Now, New Orleans is a football town, but Zion's a phenom. Luka's just a great player. Zion's a phenom. Zion's a #1 pick. Zion played at Duke. Zion's under the microscope. Luka is going to end up with 30,000 points. I'm sure he'll get a championship. He'll be in the playoffs. But it'll be a different life than Zion.
Colin Cowherd.
Weekdays at noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Opinions? Zach Gelb's got them.
There's a big basketball game each and every year at Pine Forest Camp in the Poconos. Leon Rose was in the crowd. I did not start the second half, even though I started the first half. But long story short, we don't win. After the game, Leon Rose came up to me and said, Zach, your coach made the worst bleeping decision he could ever make, taking you out of the game. This is very telling if you're a Knicks fan, because this is the brilliant scouting mind of Leon Rose, and maybe the Knicks are doing the right thing here.
Weeknights at 6 on 96.1 580 The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
When you're job hunting, what do you value? What do you look for? What do you need in a job? We'll talk about that all night. I want your thoughts at 541-630-4792 because I think that question can offer insight to some of the questions we have in sports. When are we getting sports back? Well, a lot of these leagues are figuring out plans that the players might not like. What do they value in a job? It's not unlike you. Location matters, money matters, work environment matters, livability matters, all of that matters. What do you value? Text me, 541-630-4792, and we'll just keep talking about that. Right now, though, I want to talk about a job decision that one player can't make because it's not his to make. I'm talking about Justin Herbert, star quarterback for the Ducks, and a guy that, depending on who you listen to, is either the second or third best quarterback in the draft. Joe Burrow's going to go #1. The Bengals are doing everything they can to tell you otherwise. I talked about Zach Taylor playing poker earlier this week. He's trying not to show his cards. He's trying to convince you that he could start Andy Dalton. He tried to convince you that that pick is up for grabs, but we know it's not. Joe Burrow's going to be the guy. And then that leaves Justin Herbert and the potential that he could go elsewhere. Now, the Oregonian came out today and laid the case that the Dolphins, who picked 5th in the draft, were the best fit for Justin Herbert. I want to talk about this for a couple of minutes because I am not sure that they are. The argument they posed was that the Dolphins ran a spread offense last year, and that's what Herbert ran in college. That's what every quarterback runs in college now. Argument that the Dolphins have some sort of stability because the coach and the GM and the owner all are in agreement that this team is going to tank. And so you would think that they would keep that staff together for a couple of years while they go through that. And I just don't agree with that argument. To me, I see a team that if they keep losing, think about it this way. If you own a football franchise, you're already losing a lot of money. It's expensive. The stadium is $500 million or more. The players have exorbitant contracts every year, and you get a lot of money back from TV, but it's not enough. You got to pay your executives. You got to pay your coaching staff. You've got to handle all of the logistics, the private jets, the classy 4-star hotel rooms that these players stay at, the meal per diems that they get. All of that. The training camp. Who do you think pays that? The owner pays that. You already lose a lot of money. It's already what they call a vanity project for a lot of these NFL owners. You are filthy rich, and you spend a lot of your wealth to own the team, and you lose a lot of that wealth while having the team, even when the team is good, but you keep owning the team because when they win, you look really good. I don't think these guys can put up with losing year after year after year. Eventually, that's going to wear at your vanity, especially when you're a guy like Stephen Ross and you're a titan of industry. In every other business you own, they win and make money. In every other business you own, you have the sales meeting at the end of the year or the corporate review in December, and they show you the money. You're in the green. The graph is pointing up. You're winning. You're making money. And then you have the same review with the Dolphins, and, hey, boss, we went 2-14. Please give us another $200 million on salary. Not going to happen. That's why these coaches get fired so soon. That's why players get traded too early, like Minkah Fitzpatrick last year. I think if the Dolphins have another bad year, everybody gets the axe. So I don't think that's a good fit for Justin Herbert. And that takes me to the other team that has been pegged to him for months in this process. They're the right fit for Justin Herbert, but I don't know if he's the right fit for them. And I'm talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. Pat me on the back and give me a high five for getting that right. I got the Vegas Raiders wrong yesterday. I get the Chargers wrong just about as often. But the Bolts, who bolted from San Diego, are mocked to Justin Herbert repeatedly. Everybody thinks that's the fit for him, even though they already have a starting quarterback in place, Tyrod Taylor. And I'll argue this. While I would be surprised if they didn't take Herbert, just because NFL teams generally don't pass up good quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers slipping is rare. Dan Marino slipping is rare. Joe Montana was a third-round pick, but they didn't know what they were looking for back then. If he's in the draft 5 years later, he's a number 1 overall pick. Generally, NFL teams get quarterbacks right. They're first-round guys, and they are early first-round guys because everybody wants that elite quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, top half of the first round. He wasn't even the first quarterback taken when he was taken, but everybody knew his floor was the top half of the first round. I think he goes to the Chiefs at 10 or 12, something like that, and we think, wow, that's a great steal. No, he's one of the first players taken in the whole draft. That's amazing. All that said about the Chargers and the likelihood that they'll take Justin Herbert, I think they have a fork-in-the-road moment in front of them. Every NFL team, when presented with this opportunity, is going to take Justin Herbert. You are a young team. You are a team that is coming off of a long-time franchise quarterback. You are picking in the top half of the draft. And a young, promising rookie quarterback has fallen right into your fingertips. 99 out of 100 teams take that quarterback and take that trend. But the Chargers have an opportunity to set their own trend. And I bring this up because I think what's more likely? You were a bad team and you want to be a good one. Do you do the same thing that everyone else is doing? Right now, they have no fan base. They're going to share a stadium with the Rams. The stadium's not even done. They've got no marketable players. Offensive line stinks, even if you have Justin Herbert. The receiving core always gets injured. You just gave away Melvin Gordon at the running back spot. There's no support for Justin Herbert, even if you have him. So to ask him to do the same thing that Tom Brady does or Phillip Rivers did for you last year, that's not going to work. What's more likely? You win by following a trend or by setting a new one? Look at what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. Did they ask Lamar Jackson to be what his predecessor was? Did they say, hey, Lamar, we want you to do 3-step drops and scan the field, look for the open guy, and use that cannon of an arm you have, throw it deep? No. The Ravens, instead of following a trend, instead of drafting that young quarterback and expecting him to be Mr. Pro-style offense and run the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers way, the Ravens said, we're going to do it our own way. We're going to build a new offense. We're going to start a trend instead of following one. And the Chargers could do that. They already have the most versatile defender in the NFL, Derwin James. His rookie season, he played every defensive position except for nose tackle. That means he lined up at D-end, played all 3 linebacker spots, played the corner position, nickel corner, safety, did it all. Everything except for nose tackle. And at that 6 spot where they pick, potentially, they could draft another guy just like him. Isaiah Simmons, Clemson, linebacker, safety, freak of nature. I have seen this guy play middle linebacker. I've seen him play on the outside. I've seen him play as a corner, as a safety, and I've seen him rush the passer and be a quarterback nightmare. If you have 2 players on the field who can play any position on the field, that is a nightmare. Offensive coordinators are sweating, fearful that the Chargers will go that route. It's not sexy. It's not trendy. Every other team is going to take that quarterback, top 10. You need the quarterback, or you think you need the quarterback. I like Tyrod Taylor, but you think you need the quarterback, and the quarterback's in your lap. Most teams are going to take the quarterback. That's the trendy move. The Chargers have an opportunity to set their own trend. Double down on defense, build the scariest, most versatile amoeba defense that the league has ever seen, and never look back. And in 2.5 weeks, we'll find out what they decide to do. I want to hear from you. You are the GM of the Chargers in this hypothetical, and you are presented with that opportunity. Do you take Justin Herbert? Do you build your offense around Justin Herbert? Or do you add a terror to your defense? Pair Derwin James with Isaiah Simmons and just dare offensive coordinators to figure out who's going where. That could be a matchup nightmare for the NFL. What would you do? 541-630-4792. We'll talk about it later this hour. Plus, revisiting the question from earlier, what do you look for in a job? And what are your priorities now? We're in a world wrecked by coronavirus, and I know it's changed the way we all do things. There are things I used to do that I don't do anymore. There's things that I do now that I didn't quite value until I was in this situation. Now I really value some of those things I do every day. We'll talk about that next. Plus, We aired a really classic Seahawks game last night. First ever playoff win by Seattle back in 1983, way back in the archives. And it got me thinking, what was your favorite team growing up? A lot of you had memories rekindled listening to that game last night, Seahawks beating the Dolphins in 83. Were they your favorite team? Was it somebody else? Tell me what you think about that. 541-630-4792, and we'll talk about it next right here. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Hi, I'm Amy. My husband Buddy and I own Rogue Automotive. For over a decade, we've been repairing vehicles in the Rogue Valley. We've made this sound like this. We turned this into this. We provide free shuttle service or pickup and delivery of your vehicle. Rogue Automotive is at 828 North Central Avenue, and we're open Monday through Friday from 7 to 6. Rogue Automotive, your family-operated advanced car care center. We do it all.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
Stay up late with Amy Lawrence.
Highly anticipated Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans Pelicans, and it's highly anticipated because it's a game featuring Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson, and also the first time in Zion's career that he has played in back-to-back games, right? So he's taking these baby steps. You want to work him into this NBA thing.
11 at night, overnight on 96.1 580 The Game.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Oregon School Activities Association.
Mothership Madness in the morning with GA.
Mike D'Antoni, if he loses that game last night, I mean, it's...
Oh, big time. Crushed.
Today is you have to fire Mike D'Antoni. He cannot survive the season. The Rockets will never win an NBA Finals with him. Mike D'Antoni would get absolutely annihilated today. Mike D'Antoni's a two-time Coach of the Year in the NBA. Stevens has never won that.
DA, mornings 3 to 7 on 96.1 580 The Game.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
What do you value in a job? Like, if you get a job offer from a company in whatever field you're in, I know there are truck drivers that listen to this show, mailmen listen to the show, cab drivers listen to the show. I'm in broadcasting. I listen to other radio shows. It's one of the perks of my job is I get to do that. Car sales, restaurants, whatever you're in, you get a job offer. What do you value when you get that offer? Is your first question, how much are you going to pay me? Is your first question, what are my hours going to be? Is your first question, what are my responsibilities going to be? Or where am I going to work? Where am I going to live? Who am I going to report to? Who am I going to work with? What are your priorities? What do you look for when you get a job offer? I think it's important because I think right now the big question surrounding whether or not we get baseball whether or not we get any semblance of baseball this year, to me it all boils down to the players. Major League Baseball can come up with a contingency plan. They can say, we're going to ship everybody to Arizona, and you're going to stay in Phoenix, all 30 teams, and we're going to put the games on TV and make our money back and all of that, because, they got to, they got to swipe those T's and dot those I's, otherwise it's not going to work. But really, if the union doesn't sign off on it, if the players don't value that deal, then it's not getting done. It's not enough to give baseball to baseball players. It's not enough to give your job to you. I'm a broadcaster. But if I get an offer from the middle of nowhere, Texas tomorrow, and middle of nowhere, Texas wants me to live in middle of nowhere, Texas. Actually, fun story. There is a radio station that has my call letters. My name is Matt, right? Well, KMAT is literally in middle of nowhere, Texas. I had a college roommate look this up for me one time. If KMAT in the middle of nowhere, Texas, wants me to do a sports show for them, I have to consider living in the middle of nowhere, Texas, probably making less money, not knowing anybody I'm working with, not trusting anybody I'm working with, not getting to talk about the Ducks or the Beavs and the teams that I love and care about. Can't go cover my alma mater, North Medford High School. All the fun that I have in this job, getting to cover my arch rival of my alma mater, Southern Oregon University. I love doing that. I love getting to cover Oregon Tech alum Alex Carlson, SOU women's basketball coach. Wouldn't get to do that if I went to middle of nowhere, Texas. Right? I have to factor that in when I look at a job. And you do too. And Major League Baseball players do too. It's not enough to just say, we are in your career field and we're going to offer you the opportunity to do it. What are you going to pay? Where are you going to live? How are you going to live? All of that matters. And so I don't know if we have baseball this year. But I ask you that question, what do you value in a job? Because I think it can teach us a lot about what these players might be going through over the next month. Also want to ask you about priorities. Everybody is different. Everyone's lives have been changed in different ways. But for me, I really, really value productivity. It's really important to me to work without distraction, and that's tough because I'm on my home computer, which has all my computer games on it, and at 9:30 in the morning, there's that little voice on my back shoulder that says, play computer games, Matt Bagley, play Madden, play FIFA, take the armies of Mordor and destroy your opposition in Battle for Middle-earth, Matt Bagley, and I can't do it. I got to work. I prioritize productivity. So I put my computer games away. I try to avoid looking at my desktop, if at all possible, because it's got all the shortcuts to those computer games. And I try not to take my eyes off my work. If I stop for a break for 5 or 10 minutes and I go out to the living room and go watch one of the crime shows my parents love, all of a sudden an hour's gone by. If I want to take a quick break and check Twitter to see what's going on with my friends, all of a sudden an hour's gone by. I really value my productivity now. I value staying on track now in a way that I never really could. Because when you're at work, you just take it for granted. I can't play computer games at work. I can't watch TV at work. All I can do is work because that's all that's there for me. It's different now. What do you value? 541-630-4792. Text me your thoughts. Share them with me. I think Major League Baseball, when you think about how they've built their contingency plan, at least the one that got teased out today, the most important factor for them is TV. And if there was one common thread with the previous plan, it's TV. They wanted the expanded playoffs. They wanted you, because you're probably a fan of the 14 teams that would have got in, to watch all those extra playoff games. That would be good TV revenue for them. They'd get all that money back. They value TV. I think that's another big factor to consider here. Speaking as a broadcaster, I am in an industry where everyone is having to work remotely for the first time in their lives. We used to have a big studio, still do, but it's almost empty now. It's usually only one or two people in there at a time. A massive studio in West Medford with 7 little radio stations all doing their thing, all the computers, all the hardware, all the electronics and audio cabling running under the floor and everything. I'm not saying this for anybody to go in there and do anything malicious. I'm just pointing out the world that we had versus the world that we're in right now. We had all of that. We had it all at our fingertips. And now our biggest fear is somebody bringing coronavirus into our building. We don't want everybody in that building together at the same time, because if one person had this thing, it might infect everybody else and infect their families and infect their friends. And all of a sudden, people's lives are in danger here. We don't want that. And so everyone's working remotely. And in the process, we can't do some of the things we used to do. We can't, say, have a commercial with 4 different voices in it. If I get a commercial that needs 4 different voices, I have a problem, because I can't get 4 people in a room together. Or let's say on one of our sister stations, like 105.1 The Wolf, where you've got Casey Baker and you've got Michaela Ray, you can't get them to interview a group of people together. Or on 95.7 KBOI, you can't get them to interview a big group of people because we can't have all those people in the building together. My point being, I wonder with TV, the work that it takes, the television truck, the production truck is what they always call it. You hear it hinted at in sports broadcasts. In reality, it's 10 guys crammed in a minivan that's been stripped out so they can put a bunch of stuff into it. And then you've got countless cameramen, and you've got people holding microphones, and you've got people working lighting, and you've got people working the cabling, and you've got people up in the press box setting up the equipment for Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and the broadcasters. You've probably got 30 people at least on every major sports broadcast crew in the nation. And I wonder if you could get all those people in a room together. Right, Major League Baseball prioritizes television. So does the NBA. But can television work through coronavirus? I'm not quite sure, and I'm in the industry. Maybe you could see a way through that. Maybe you see a strategy that they can borrow to alleviate that. We'll talk about that the rest of the show, 541-630-4792. And next, I want to know, what's been the hardest adjustment for you? Working from home, I just told you about distraction. It's really hard for me not to just sit at my desk and play video games all day, because it's right there. I totally could, but I don't. That's not the hardest adjustment for me, believe it or not. The hardest adjustment for me is something completely different. We'll talk about that next. I want your thoughts as well. 541-630-4792. This is Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Interstate Batteries is doing something cool for our community. Since we're hunkering down, they want everyone to know they are offering local delivery. The team at Interstate Batteries care about your health and have incorporated mindful changes to ensure their customers keep getting the same excellent service. When you call Interstate Batteries to make an order which you pay for over the phone, they will deliver your order wearing gloves and keeping their distance. No signing, no close encounters. Just good communication to ensure your order gets to you safely. This way, you can keep enjoying your recreational vehicles and ATVs. Want to go camping this weekend but need a new battery? Don't want to go to a shop to get a new battery for your car? Interstate Batteries has you covered. Just give them a call and they will deliver while respecting your personal space. Interstate Batteries know times are tough right now, so don't forget to bring your scrap batteries for cash. Call 664-3417. Interstate Batteries. Outrageously dependable.
What if Tom Brady goes back to the team that he has absolutely loved since birth, the San Francisco 49ers, and Jimmy G goes back to the Patriots? Everybody knows that Bill Belichick wanted Jimmy G. Is Tom Brady going to be the 49ers quarterback next year and Jimmy G going to be the New England Patriots quarterback next year? People are saying it's possible, and I am all the way here for it.
The Pat McAfee Show.
Mornings at 7 on The Game.
They'll challenge your authority because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Jim Rome's got opinions.
Here's a topic I thought that I would never, ever have to address. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said 8 deputies allegedly took or shared graphic photos of the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash scene, but he ordered them deleted. End quote. What in the world is wrong with you? We have been trusted as law enforcement officials, have taken that and somehow made it worse. Be better than that, because you cannot be any worse.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
Want to take a minute to tell you about something really cool for our community that a friend of the station, David, and his business Interstate Batteries are doing right now. We're all hunkered down. We're all kind of spooked right now about coronavirus. And so they are offering local delivery. They care about your health. Bunch of changes that they've pulled off to make this happen. I mean, it's crazy to think about all of the things that used to go into battery maintenance. They've got it all figured out. Coronavirus, to where they don't get nothing to you. I really like this. You still get to get your car done. Car maintenance is really important. Still get to, get that ATV get the battery for your ATV, all of that stuff. And it's really easy. No signing, no close encounters, just good communication. Everything gets done right. It's Interstate Battery. Just give them a call. They will deliver. They'll respect your space, and they'll take care of you. Outrageously dependable. Interstate Batteries, 664-3417. What's the hardest adjustment you've had to go through in this new world? I bring this idea up because I think that it's going to be difficult for certain NFL coaching staffs. You have been doing things one way for your entire career. You have an itinerary that is set, and you have followed that itinerary to the letter every day for decades. You handle free agency a certain way and at a certain time. You prepare for the draft in a certain way at a certain time. You prepare week to week in the season a certain way. You do things on Monday that you don't do on Friday. You do things on Saturday that you don't do on Wednesday, et cetera, et cetera. Forever. It doesn't change. It's been the same since Paul Brown was in the NFL 60 years ago. Doesn't change. And now it does. How does that change those coaches? How does that change the scouts and the GMs and the teams that have to wonder, like a guy like Ashton Davis, who my dad talked about on the show yesterday? Great tape, good pedigree, a really smart defensive back from one of the best colleges in the nation, Cal Berkeley. Had great exposure in the Oregon game, making clutch tackles and big plays. He didn't have a pro day, and he got hurt right before the combine, so he didn't run a 40 at the combine, so we don't know how fast he is, and NFL teams have to make a decision. In years past, Ashton Davis has a pro day, and he runs at his pro day, and you know how fast he is, and you know whether or not he's a first-round pick. But NFL teams don't know. You have to change your process. You have to change how you do things. That's an adjustment they have to make. What's the biggest adjustment you've had to make through all of this? For example, my dad eats really healthy. When I was a kid, we only ate kosher hot dogs. And I grew up Pentecostal, so we ate kosher by choice. We did not have a mandate. Nobody told us we had to do that. Nobody taught us we had to do that. But my dad only ever ate kosher hot dogs for a pretty darn good reason. He thinks the way people make hot dogs is nasty. It is nasty. I don't have any hot dog sponsors on the show, so I can say it. You should all be ashamed of yourselves for eating that stuff. It's gross. But my dad, the health guy, the last couple times he's gone grocery shopping, I've spotted Top Ramen. I've spotted Chef Boyardee. I've spotted all sorts of things that I know him, and I know he wouldn't normally eat. That's an adjustment. He's not eating it yet. He's keeping it in the cupboards. But he's making that adjustment because he thinks he might have to at some point. You don't know, right? If the grocery stores get closed or supply gets wonky, you don't know. You got to grab that stuff. Just have it around. So I've seen his spending habits change a little bit. He's had to adjust there. I've had to adjust my spending habits. I used to love going to Beer Works in downtown Medford and grabbing something new. I used to love going to Tap City Beverage, which is owned by my boss, and fill in a growler with something good. I don't do that anymore. I can't do that anymore. I've had to adjust. How have you had to adjust? 541-630-4792. We'll talk about that next hour. Plus, what do you look for in a job? I bring that up because I think it can teach us a lot about sports. And let's talk about outlook, college football, the draft, and more. Right here, Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580.
This is Ken Troutman, president of People's Bank. Events have unfolded fairly quickly across the nation, but this event is not similar to the last recession. When looking at the industry as a whole, and specifically at People's Bank, we have entered this period of uncertainty in a position of strength. Bank's capital levels are very high, which will allow us to provide the funding businesses and individuals need to carry them over until times improve. Banks also have more diversification to their lending, which provides a cushion to those industries that are feeling the immediate effect of the slowdown. More importantly, banks have invested significant amounts of money over the last few years to enhance and grow our technology and electronic capabilities. Our federal and state governments are working on immediate actions that will provide financial support to those individuals and businesses impacted by the shutdown. If you have any questions related to banking, please contact your local bank office and they will update you on their actions, or you can email me at ken@peoplesbank.bank and I'll provide a response based on my knowledge of the question. If I receive many of the same questions, I will use my radio message to let everyone know the question and my response. Be safe. This is Ken from People's Bank, member FDIC.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Zion's different. Now, New Orleans is a football town, but Zion's a phenom. Luka's just a great player. Zion's a phenom. Zion's a #1 pick. Zion played at Duke. Zion's under the microscope. Luka is going to end up with 30,000 points. I'm sure he'll get a championship. He'll be in the playoffs. But it'll be a different life than Zion.
Colin Cowherd.
Weekdays at noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
More than 7.7 million American teenagers participate in high school sports every year, including about 101,000 here in Oregon. They're all learning essential life lessons, like the importance of hard work, time management, and self-discipline, skills that are helping them become better leaders and more active, responsible citizens. This message presented by the Oregon School Activities Association and the Oregon Athletic Directors Association.
Opinions? Zach Gelb's got them.
There's a big basketball game each and every year at Pine Forest Camp in the Poconos. Leon Rose was in the crowd. I did not start the second half, even though I started the first half. But long story short, we don't win. After the game, Leon Rose came up to me and said, Zach, your coach made the worst bleeping decision he could ever make, taking you out of the game. This is very telling if you're a Knicks fan, because this is the brilliant scouting mind of Leon Rose, and maybe the Knicks are doing the right thing here.
Weeknights at 6 on 96.1 580 The Game.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place, and then they act so surprised when I find them, but I'm like, hello, that's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Stay up late with Amy Lawrence.
Highly anticipated Dallas Mavericks and the New Orleans Pelicans, and it's highly anticipated because it's a game featuring Luka Doncic and Zion Williamson, and also the first time in Zion's career that he has played in back-to-back games, right? So he's taking these baby steps. You want to work him into this NBA thing.
11 at night, overnight on 96.1 580 The Game.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
This is your home for Monday Night Football.
He's out to the numbers, the 40, the 30, down the sideline, the 20, 10, 5, touchdown!
KTMT 580 AM and K241CA 96.1 FM Ashland.
Sports Flash.
I'm Rich Ackerman. Tiger Woods is hoping for the day when he'll be able to defend his Masters championship. That will most likely come in November. The opening round was supposed to begin today, but this pandemic changed that. Woods told Golf TV he did keep one tradition alive, the Champions Dinner, albeit with a slight twist.
Had exactly the same. Yes, we had steak and chicken feet, sushi and sashimi. We had cupcakes and milkshakes for dessert. So it was exactly what I was going to serve. As I said, Masters dinner quarantine style with my family. We had a lot of fun, and eventually it got a little bit interesting at the end, a little ugly, where icing was flowing across people's hair and face, and so we had a little bit of fun at the end.
The Lakers were leading the West when the NBA suspended play, and they were really clicking, coming off wins over the Bucks and Clippers. At the age of 35, LeBron James was chasing his 4th title with a 3rd team and said he's having trouble coming to grips with the potential of an incomplete ending.
I don't know if I will be able to have any closure. I can have some satisfaction on what our team has been able to do this year, having a first-year coach, first-year system, a whole new coaching staff, bringing on so many new pieces to our team this year. Doing the things that I honestly, like I told you guys all year, I honestly didn't think that we would be able to come together as fast as we did.
ESPN reports NBA players will receive their full pay on April 15th. The league and the Players Association have been in talks regarding the status of salaries going forward. And the Bulls have reportedly found their new head of basketball operations. ESPN reports they're set to name Arturas Karnisovas, who has been the Denver Nuggets general manager the last 3 years. He'll be in charge of reshaping the Bulls basketball department. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Airing Oregon State Beaver football, basketball, and baseball all year long. 96.1 FM, 580 AM, The Game.
Your teams.
It is Barner. It is Barner, and he's gone.
The Beavers are the national champions.
Brandon, a three-pointer out front. Hit it! Yes, he did!
His take.
Here's what I think.
Matt Bagley.
The Astros wasted a lot of money on public relations. I don't know how much they spent on their staff. I don't know who they hired, but I'm assuming they hired somebody, and whoever it is, that somebody didn't do their jobs. That was a horrible press conference today.
Talking local sports.
The owner of the team was asked, did you cheat? Because they wanted him to say, yes, we cheated. Yes, what we did is bad. Here's an apology. That's the common sense approach. That's what anyone in the world would have told them to say, but they wouldn't say it. He says, we broke the rules, but that wasn't cheating. This would be like a student cheating on a test, and you know all the answers beforehand, and you get caught, and you say, yeah, I broke the rules, but I wasn't cheating. In this instance, how can you break the rules and not cheat?
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580 The Game.
541-630-4792. You can text to that number. You can talk to me tonight. You can tell me what you think, because I don't have any guests. And when I don't have guests, it's my favorite kind of show. I write down a bunch of stuff in my notes, but I can tweak things. I can move things. I can make this your show tonight, and you get to talk to me. 541-630-4792. I grew up here in Medford, went to Roosevelt Elementary, Hedrick Middle School, North Medford High School, and then I went to college at OIT. And when I was growing up, starting in the 6th grade, I got to play trombone in the school band. I picked it out. I knew I had to do something. I can't sing. I can speak, but I can't sing. I knew right away violin and the cello and all of that was not for me. I'm a fumbler with my hands. I do not have fine motor skills. I can barely write my name. Chicken scratch handwriting. But I saw trombone, and it looked easy. All you got to do is move your arm. Don't have to move your hands. Don't have to stretch your fingers out. No fine motor whatsoever. It looked easy, so I did it. And fast forward about 4 years, and I'm in high school, and I'm a member of the North Medford Pep Band that would play at basketball games, and we did some volleyball games, and we would do the pep rallies on Friday. And I remember when we would go cover a game, or cover, like I'm a member of the media, when we would play music at a game, I remember afterwards a couple players really enjoyed it, and they would come up to us. Like a good friend of mine, Kyle Waits, who later was an All-American basketball player at Oregon Tech, where we both went to school. Kyle came up to me one day and he said, hey, thank you to the band for playing. And it struck me that what we did to him Not necessarily to us. We were just there to play because our director told us to play, right? But I realized in that moment that we gave him something else. He was playing basketball, and he loved it. But you get to play basketball in front of a crowd. You get to play basketball in front of a band playing music, giving you that ambiance, right? That's a little extra. There's a little something there. It's not just a matter of going to do what you do every day. There are little things on the outside that really matter. And so I asked you at the very start of the show, when you're looking for a job, what do you look for? Or when you get a job offer from a job in your field, you're a cook, you're a cab driver or a truck driver or a bus driver or a broadcaster or a car salesman, and you get that offer in your field, what else do you look for? Is it money? Is it responsibility? Is it title? Is it who you work with? Is it who you work for? Because those things all matter. Those peripheral things that aren't the job itself all matter. And I was taught that when I was in high school, and it has stuck with me ever since. And I bring that up because I wonder about that MLB proposal. But it's not just MLB. It's not just the likelihood of a Madison Bumgarner or a, say, Mookie Betts. Here's the best example of this. He has just moved across the country. He's going to play for the Dodgers. He has to find a new school for his kids. He has to find a home for his family. His wife probably needs to find a job because she's moving across the country. And now Major League Baseball wants Mookie Betts to go to Arizona for 5 months, not talk to his family, not see his family, not help them with that phase of their lives. Is that okay for Mookie Betts? Does he look at that? Does he consider that a red flag? Does he consider that a deal breaker? A lot of players are going to have that decision to make. And I think some of them will still want to play baseball, but some of them are going to say, I want to play baseball, but at what cost? And they're going to balk at it. It's not just baseball either. In the NBA, LeBron James is the most iconic active basketball player that we have. The most iconic player by a mile. Captain of Team USA, face of multiple NBA championship teams, and he moves from Cleveland, who drafted him, who developed him, who he won a title with. He moves from Cleveland to the Lakers because in the offseason, he lived in L.A. And his son was growing up, now of high school age, Bron Jr., and his son was playing in the AAU basketball circuit in Southern California and playing high school basketball in Southern California. And LeBron says, I want to be closer to my son. I want to watch his games. I want to be a coach. I want to be involved in his life. And I can't do that if I'm in Cleveland 9 months out of the year. So they moved to L.A. That's the only reason he's playing for the Lakers. I can't fathom the NBA going to LeBron James and saying, we'll let you play basketball, we'll pay you to play basketball, but you can't be in L.A. You have to be in Las Vegas because that's where we're going to have all the games. I can't imagine them doing that. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. What would you do if you were in those players' shoes? When you get a job offer, what do you look at? I think those two questions are tied together. 541-630-4792. Also want to talk about outlook and adjustments. I think the NFL has 32 teams that all have to adjust. Earlier this week I said, I guarantee you some of these general managers are computer illiterate. Guys like John Elway, that for his entire life, he has had a person on staff that could be his computer guy. I'm not saying he really does. I'm just throwing that out there. It makes sense to me. John Elway played in the 80s, made a lot of money. I bet he has a guy in his life that handles tech for him. Bill Belichick started when teams still watched game film. Film, as in the reels of film, the reel-to-reel and all of that. The stuff that would catch fire if you rubbed it together. And the stuff that was real flammable, that would burn a building down. You didn't want it to catch fire. Anyway, Bill Belichick has been watching film so long. He's been doing it since that was how you did it. 40 years, 50 years, no computers involved. You can look this up. His first job was way back in the 70s. He's the head coach of the Browns in the early 90s, right when the internet starts. So he's making head coach money by then. And he's made more money ever since. I can't imagine Bill Belichick is all up on Twitter and Facebook and surfing the web and getting these Zoom meetings handled perfectly. He does not strike me as very tech savvy. Bill Belichick probably has somebody to do it all for him. He's had to adjust. John Elway's had to adjust. And they aren't alone. 32 NFL teams are dealing with something totally brand new. They've got to work from home. And I think it will create a really interesting draft. I wouldn't be surprised if teams just don't take swings. You don't take an Ashton Davis in round one, like I mentioned earlier, because even though the tape is great, you don't know his 40 time. You don't take a Justin Herbert early because you didn't get a chance to interview him and see him draw up plays on the chalkboard and talk about those plays and how those plays might fit into your system. And you might not take a chance on a Tua Tagovailoa. What have I said for 3 months now? The single biggest story in this draft. Will he pass a physical? Will he meet the medical requirements that some of these teams place on him? We don't know. He goes to the combine, he gets checked out, but he never gets to visit a team facility because they won't let him. Doors are locked. League rules. NFL teams have to adjust. Are they going to take fewer chances? Are they going to take more chances? I don't know. I leave the floor open to you. We'll talk about it next. Adjustments. How are you adjusting? 541-630-4792. And let's talk about high school. Yesterday, the Oregon School Activities Association followed the decision that Governor Kate Brown made. At 1:30, school was closed until June. At 5:30, school sports were suspended for the season. That means no high school golf. That means no high school baseball, no high school softball, no high school tennis, no track and field, all gone. And I want to ask you, you are an adult, you grew up, you played sports growing up. Can you imagine life without that? Can you imagine having that time taken away from you? And something even more relatable, when you were a senior in high school, how did you spend time with your friends? Did you celebrate? Did you party your graduation? Did you do a senior skip day? All of that right now is in limbo. I don't know how the kids are going to do that now. No school. Let me know what you went through. Tell me your stories, and I'll tell mine next. We'll talk about what I think is going to be missed the most from that generation of seniors. A whole lot of student athletes in the Valley are dealing with something unprecedented. We'll talk about it next. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1, 580, The Game.
Interstate Batteries is doing something cool for our community. Since we're hunkering down, they want everyone to know they are offering local delivery. The team at Interstate Batteries care about your health and have incorporated mindful changes to ensure their customers keep getting the same excellent service. When you call Interstate Batteries to make an order which you pay for over the phone, they will deliver your order wearing gloves and keeping their distance. No signing, no close encounters. Just good communication to ensure your order gets to you safely. This way, you can keep enjoying your recreational vehicles and ATVs. Want to go camping this weekend but need a new battery? Don't want to go to a shop to get a new battery for your car? Interstate Batteries has you covered. Just give them a call and they will deliver while respecting your personal space. Interstate Batteries know times are tough right now, so don't forget to bring your scrap batteries for cash. Call 664-3417. Interstate Batteries. Outrageously dependable.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores, the score used by 90% of top lenders, for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes, always for free. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Make it a great day with DA.
Tom Brady's more name than he is ability now.
Well, people don't want to admit this. You and I are on the same page here. They want to affix every excuse to why Brady had a down year, to his skill position guys, to the offensive line. Nobody wants to say the mean thing, which is Brady is a great player, was one of the greatest of all time, perhaps the greatest of all time, and he's not that anymore. People do not want to be mean about it.
He's hooked. DA, mornings 3 to 7 on 96.1 580 The Game.
Hi, Mom. Is Claire's birthday party today? Me again, Mom. Where did I put my history book? Hi. Sorry, forgot one last thing. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate. At school, I start looking out the window, and then I forget what I was supposed to be thinking about. I know it seems like I don't care, but I do. It's just difficult for me. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Join parents and experts at Understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive. Brought to you by Understood.org and the Ad Council.
About to be a free agent, Chris Harris Jr. What up, stud? What has it been like being a Bronco from the Peyton era through the 45 different quarterbacks? What have you learned about what makes good football teams and then what potentially makes bad football teams?
Definitely learned that it's a quarterback's league. And when we had Peyton, I mean, he drove that. I mean, he ran the show. And when he left, you could definitely see that we definitely missed him.
The Pat McAfee Show.
Mornings at 7 on 96.1 580 The Game.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
One of my favorite things in this job, doing my sports show every day and running a radio station, getting out in the community and covering live sports, is I've gotten to meet some of the great young student athletes in our community. I think about all the amazing young women that led South Medford to the state semifinal this year in women's basketball. I think about all of the impressive, hard-working athletes at North Medford that rebuilt that football program and got them to the precipice. They finished a point away from beating one of the best teams in the state and winning the conference and then making a deep playoff run. I'm so blessed to have met those kids and their families and their coaches and their mentors. And I'm so hurt by the news yesterday. Governor Kate Brown around 1 o'clock saying schools are closed through the school year. They're not coming back. It's all online school. And then the Oregon School Activities Association following up a couple hours later and saying, yep, no school. That means no venues for games. That means no games. We're not having any spring sports. No track, no golf, no tennis, no baseball, no softball. All done for the year. I feel for those kids because I think about when I was their age, and I know you can chip into this too, contribute with a thought that you have on your experience at 541-630-4792. Whether or not you played a sport really doesn't matter in this, but that senior year of high school, that last year of high school before you are officially an adult free out in the world, that was such a fun year. And for me, I'm not the biggest, friendliest guy. I can tell you that I have kept tabs with exactly 2 people from my high school years. My best friend growing up and my next closest friend in school, who was the love of my life, my fiance. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. Those 2 people are it. I'm not close to anybody else. I didn't keep tabs with anybody else. I'm not a big social guy. And yet, I remember that year, everybody had fun together. You go out to parties, or you go out to dinner on Friday night after the football game, or you celebrate with that senior skip day in the spring, or you celebrate. I remember there's like at least this is how it used to be at North Medford. The seniors would leave school like a week before everybody else did. Like our year ended like a week earlier. And so I remember sleeping in and just relishing while my sister had to go to school. She was younger than me. I remember throwing a party with my friends on a Wednesday night, school night for everybody else, party night for us. And I just feel for those seniors. They're not going to have that. I remember the 3 months after school, because I had gotten accepted to Oregon Tech. I had the funding from financial aid and scholarships to go to Oregon Tech. I knew where my dorm room was going to be. I knew what I needed to put in that dorm room, but I knew they wouldn't let me in that dorm room until late September. I didn't get the keys to the dorm room till late September. So there was like a 3-month window, and everybody that went to the state schools dealt with this too. At Oregon, Oregon State, Portland State, SOU, etc. There's 3 months from the last day of school in June to the first day of your freshman year of college in late September. And we all hung out together. All that senior graduation money that you get from your grandma's sister in Texas. Well, all of a sudden, I'm getting my hair done and buying an extra pair of shoes and, going out to the movies with my friends. Taking my girlfriend out for dates. My girlfriend that I had at the time, my ex-girlfriend. And most importantly, I remember sipping Coca-Cola and smoking cigarettes with my best friend and thinking, man, we are going to do so much in our lives. And having that window, having that moment where you look back at everything that you've done and everything that you're going to be. These seniors don't have that now. You can't even leave the house now. I feel so bad for them. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. When you were growing up and you went through that year, that senior year of high school, how did you handle it? How did you celebrate when you graduated? What did you think about? What did you do? Did you go out to lunch with your friends or go drinking? Probably not drinking. Probably that's not a good story to tell the kiddos. But you know what I mean? Like, you got to celebrate. You got to let loose and enjoy that accomplishment in your life. They don't get that. That's been denied of them, and I think it's going to have a major impact. I think that people that are high school seniors, people that are 18 or 17 turning 18, are going to look at the world in a completely different way now. And young kids that are growing up with this as a new normal, my kid nephew is 3. He sees his mom, my sister, making masks for their air base in Illinois, where they live. And all he knows is that mommy makes masks for sick people. Well, imagine being 3 years old and thinking that everyone around you could be sick. Imagine being 3 years old and thinking that if you get sick, you might die. Or you might give this to someone else and they might die. That's a lot for a 3-year-old. Making masks all day or watching your parents make masks all day. That's a lot for a 3-year-old. There is a lot of change in this world, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see that change, see what happens, because some of it's not that good. I will talk about that on this show, 541-630-4792. Also, I want to talk about culture, because all of the talk about college football and what their contingency plan might be, that's all great. There are going to be teams that I think, I've used the example before, coaches that can go with the flow and coaches that can't. That is going to be a factor. But there's another factor to consider that I think could determine the success of college football programs that's way more important than your head coach's personality. I'll talk about that next right here. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1 580, The Game.
Hi, it's Amy from Rogue Automotive. My husband Buddy and I are happy to announce that we now offer a great selection of wheels and tires for your vehicle. New tires can greatly improve the performance and safety of your car, and new wheels can really make you stand out from the rest. Maybe your car is wandering or shaking while going down the road. You might just need an alignment, and at Rogue Automotive, we do that too. Rogue Automotive is at 828 North Central Avenue, your locally owned full-service car care center. We do it all.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
There's only one Jim Rome.
Every professional sports league is monitoring the coronavirus. The NBA is telling its players to skip high fives with fans and instead go with fist bumps. Overall, I am fine with the recommendations from the association. In fact, I am more than fine with them. The high five is tired. I'm good with the fist bump as a permanent replacement for that. Hey, while we're at it, go ahead. Do away with the traditional handshake. That'd be great.
Weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil. $15 is the best I can do. You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
If Washington can pick Tua at number 2, of course you take him. He's better than Dwayne Haskins. Nobody has any question about that. Tua is better at Dwayne Haskins at everything except size. He's more accurate. He's more mature. He's got more college productivity. He's got more starts. I think he's a better leader, and I think he's more mobile. I don't think Haskins is mobile at all.
Colin Cowherd.
Weekdays at noon on 96.1 580 The Game.
Imagine if I told you that an earthquake was going to hit tomorrow right where you live. That it would be 6.5 in magnitude with aftershocks occurring twice 25 minutes apart. You'd no doubt talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you an earthquake will happen tomorrow. But what if it does? Shouldn't you have a plan? Visit Oregon.gov/OMD/OEM and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
541-630-4792. I want to hear your stories about when you were a senior in high school. What did you do? How did you celebrate that accomplishment in your lives? That is something I think denied from the seniors now. And I bring this up because I'm close to these players and their accomplishments this year. I feel for them. My heart hurts for them. They work hard, both in the classroom and in their sports. And now they have neither. That's not fair. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. And it just it impresses upon me the things that I got to do, the things that I got to celebrate that they don't. I don't think that's right. 541-630-4792. Share your thoughts with me there. Real quick, I want to tell you about Interstate Batteries, because I know even through this, where I don't drive as much as I used to, I still need car maintenance. I still got to take care of the little things with my vehicle because my mileage is up there and I use this thing for work. And if I don't have it, I can't work. Just doesn't work that well for me. So Interstate Batteries has done a lot for me, and I think they can really help you too. Really cool thing for the community. Everybody's hunkered down. People want something safer. They want something that isn't scary, and this is it. They care about your health. They've incorporated changes. You get the same great service you had before. You call Interstate Batteries to make an order. When you pay for it over the phone, they'll deliver the order. They've got gloves on. They'll keep their distance. Don't sign anything. There's no close encounters. Nobody's breathing on you. Just good communication, and you get your order done safely. Interstate Batteries, call them, 541-664-3417. That's Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable. Talk some NFL this segment, talk some college football this segment, and some other things that are dependable. Like the fact that Rex Ryan is a dependable idiot. You can depend on him to say the dumbest thing at the worst time. Last week it was some slap of Amari Cooper about how Coop was a turd. I mean, I'm a Raider fan, so I know a lot of Raider fans might feel that way. I never did. I always thought he was a great receiver. I always thought the Raiders were dumb for trading him. And Cowboys fans, you know why. You've seen his production just soar. He's not a turd. He's a terror and a really good football player. Well, this week, Rex's stupid quote of the week was he was talking about Belichick or Brady. And somebody asked him, who would you rather have? And he says, well, I'd rather have Brady. And his logic was, you don't know if Bill Belichick is a good coach because Bill Belichick was surrounded by good players. Rex Ryan says, give him Geno Smith and see if he wins a Super Bowl, which I find just laughable. Let's break this down for a second. The head coach that drafted Geno Smith is saying that Bill Belichick isn't a great coach because he never had to play with Geno Smith. Think about this for a second. Yes, Bill Belichick didn't have to work with Geno Smith, but Bill Belichick didn't draft Geno Smith. Bill Belichick didn't say, this guy is the guy, second-round pick, face of my franchise. Rex Ryan did that. That was a Rex Ryan pick. So yes, Bill Belichick didn't have to fight with a hand tied behind his back, but that's not his fault. He drafted better. That's what makes Bill Belichick great. We use this analogy all the time of head coaches make the grocery list and the GMs go out and shop. John Gruden needs a receiver that can do certain things in his offense. Or Mike Tomlin needs a defensive back that can do certain things for his defense. They know what they want. They write down the list. And Kevin Colbert with the Steelers or Mike Mayock with the Raiders has to go out and find the ingredients. Here's the grocery list. Now go shopping. And then the coaches come back and cook it, right, to complete the analogy. Well, Rex Ryan is saying that Bill Belichick didn't have this item on his grocery list, and that makes him a bad coach. But they both wrote their own lists. Bill Belichick just writes a better list. If you're going to make bread, you need certain things. If you're going to make breakfast, you need certain things. Right? If I'm going to have bacon and eggs, I got to go bind eggs. Rex Ryan didn't put eggs on his list, and he wonders why the bacon and eggs didn't turn out right. I think it's just about the dumbest comment anybody could make with Belichick, that you don't know how good he is because he didn't have bad players around him. His job was to find good players, and he did that at a very high level, and he has a bunch of Super Bowl rings to show for it. I think Rex Ryan's got to shut up. I want to hear from you. 541-630-4792. Also want to talk about something else dependable in this segment. As we mentioned, Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable, doing a really neat approach to coronavirus. As hands-free, as contact-free as they possibly could be right now. So you can still get your maintenance done and you can still get the parts you need without any fear. Something else dependable is the Ducks, and not just the Ducks, but some other teams that I think are really in a good position here. Potentially having an advantage over some other teams in that excuse me, I'm getting distracted looking at text messages here, over other teams in that when the college football season comes back, we'll probably have an abbreviated camp, meaning right now we know you can't go outside and practice. And we assume that'll be the case in May. Schools are closed in Oregon through June. Let's play with that. Let's say that the Ducks can get back on the practice field in June. I don't buy that. I think when we hit that point, the governor will say, you can come back in August. But you have to ease in from June and July to August. We're not going to let everybody out at the field at the same time. We're not going to let everybody in the facility together in close proximity at the same time. We're going to ease in. And so now Oregon, instead of having a full spring camp to work with, they're going to start fall camp in August, and they'll be behind schedule. But they're not alone. So will every other college football team. And I think a team like the Ducks will have an advantage through all of that because a team like the Ducks has experience. So a good example, Florida State has a new head coach this year, and they aren't alone. Another example, let's point out a team like, say, Washington State. Washington State, they've given the Ducks trouble in years past. They have a new head coach. They have a new quarterback. They have a lot of players headed to the NFL, so that means you got to replace them with new guys, up-and-coming guys. And when Nick Rolovich, Washington State's head coach, tells the seniors on that team, hey, I need you to make sure guys are working out, they don't know him. They don't trust him. It's not that they won't do it, but it's that they might not do exactly what he needs them to do because they just don't know him that well. Compare that to Mario Cristobal. He's been at Oregon for 3 years now. 4 years if you count that year where he was an assistant coach. He has a throng of seniors at every position on that team. Seniors in the running back room, seniors on the offensive line, seniors on the defensive line, seniors in the linebacking core, in the secondary, in the special teams. He's got guys that know him and trust him that he can go to and tell him, I need you to keep the freshmen on track. I need you to keep the young guys fired up. Hey, Jordan Scott, I need you to make sure Kayvon Thibodeau, our sophomore freak edge rusher, is doing what he needs to do. Hey, Javon Holland, our phenom safety, who is NFL ready and will have offers, I guarantee you, he will have offers from teams if he wants to leave Oregon after this next season and be a first-round draft pick. We need you to go watch Mikhail Wright, our sophomore stud defensive back. Those guys trust Mario Cristobal. They know what he's asking them to do. They know what he wants them to do, and they're going to get that job done. I think the Ducks have the experience to drive from within that locker room and lead that team through these uncertain times. You can't officially practice. You can't get everybody together until August, maybe if we're lucky, August, and then you're going to be behind the 8 ball. But I think the Ducks can do enough right now. You make sure that guys are doing the Zoom meetings and the teleconferencing. You make sure that guys are reading that Google Drive PDF of a playbook that you send out, or quizzing guys on the lingo of that playbook, or quizzing guys on formation and procedure and tape and all of that. You can do that right now because you can do it remotely. And I think they are doing that. And I think that's one area where Oregon can have an advantage over some of the other schools in college football. Same goes for Oregon State, by the way. Jonathan Smith and the Beavers, they only had 12 seniors this past year. Football teams have, 90 players? College football teams? 90 players. 12 of them were seniors. That's a super young team. At least a team that was young and now gains the experience to go out, apply what they've learned. They don't need a lot of time in camp. They don't need a lot of refinement. I think they're going to have an advantage as well. It's going to be really fun to see when we get it, that's for sure. 541-630-4792. Earlier tonight, I asked you about jobs. If you get a job offer somewhere, what do you look at? Location, money, title, responsibility, culture. What do you look at? There's a lot we can learn from that. And how have you had to adjust to coronavirus? We'll talk about that. Plus, Justin Herbert was asked about adjustment and growth. We'll talk about that too. All coming up next. Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW on 96.1, 580, The Game.
Zach Gelb is on CBS Sports Radio.
One of my all-time favorites, former Virginia Tech head coach, now a superstar, and that's Seth Greenberg. Seth, great to see you.
Big time, man. I remember you when you were doing Temple Radio, and you go, Coach, can you come on? Of course I'm going to come on. And now you're taking over the world.
And we actually made a bet. My bet was correct, and I still sent you a dozen New York bagels, and you sent me some Virginia Tech T-shirts.
That was a good trade for you.
Weeknights at 6 on 96.1, 580, The Game.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
13?
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
After Hours with Amy Lawrence.
Even Alex Rodriguez is now ripping the Astros for showing no remorse. Took him a while to show remorse himself after he went on his apology tour, which he did. Says he served the longest suspension in baseball history. I deserved it. Someone who can speak firsthand that the Astros deserve whatever comes their way because they have not shown any type of remorse.
11 at night, overnight on 96.1, 580, The Game.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Make it a great day with DA.
Tom Brady's more name than he is ability now.
Well, people don't want to admit this. You and I are on the same page here. They want to affix every excuse to why Brady had a down year, to his skill position guys, to the offensive line. Nobody wants to say the mean thing, which is Brady is a great player, was one of the greatest of all time, perhaps the greatest of all time, and he's not that anymore. People do not want to be mean about this.
He's cooked.
DA, mornings 3 to 7 on 96.1 580 The Game.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes, and you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to, are you? Kids, work, listening to the radio. You're busy, which is great because busy people can't get prediabetes. Oh my, I read that wrong. They can. Should have worn my glasses. So visit doihaveprediabetes.org and take a short test, because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Pre-Diabetes Awareness Partners.
Southern Oregon Sports Talk with Matt Bagley. Talking local sports. Weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. on 96.1 580 The Game.
541-630-4792. Justin Herbert was asked about his worst moment as a Duck. And I want to turn that question around to you. You can text me, 541-630-4792. When you were growing up and you were around his age, teenager, growing into your 20s, what was the worst mistake you ever made? 541-630-4792. For me, I've said before, I thought I knew what I wanted to do in life, and I would, every time there was a class in high school where the speaker would say, you know, pick your major and think about your career and blah, 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 and where you want to go to school, blah, 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 blah. I thought it was going in one ear, into my brain, through my soul. I thought I knew what I wanted to do. I was going to make a lot of money, go to Oregon Tech, be a software engineering major, work for my dad, make 70, 80 grand a year, and then ride off into the sunset, right? And then I get to college, and I'm decent for a term or two, and then I realize I'm way over my head. And then I grind for another couple of terms and get caught up. And then by my junior year, I had some things happen in my life, some emotional stuff. Had a girlfriend that I had dated that we broke up, and it was the worst thing that ever happened in my life, or so I thought. And I had all these hard classes that were harder than anything I'd had before, and I failed everything. And I go, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm tired of drowning and then swimming and getting caught up and then drowning again, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I gave up. But just doing that at first was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done. When I had people all my life telling me, you're a really good public speaker. You would be a really good broadcaster. I heard that over and over again growing up. Or I had a lady that was a friend of my mom's that my mom worked with, runs a business here in the Valley, that she swore up and down to my mom. She said, he's going to be a pastor someday. Now, I'm not. That's not a nightmare job for me. But it uses a lot of the same skills that I use every day here. And I never listened to those people when they told me that. I never took that seriously. I pigeonholed myself into one thing. I think that was the biggest mistake I made growing up. Well, Justin Herbert, his biggest mistake was, he said in his first game as a starter, he had no idea what to expect. That's the Washington game where they dropped 70 on the Ducks, and Oregon wears those awful webfoot jerseys. Awful. The Oregon flag jerseys where it's navy blue. Oh, those were gross. They look like cow. Anyway, that was his worst moment from college. What was yours? 541-630-4792. I think that question and his answer gets to a point that could actually really help him as a professional. He's talking about how when I started, I wasn't ready. And now when he goes to the NFL, he has to start over. Now when he goes to the NFL, he's going to be thrown to the wolves the exact same way that he was that day for Oregon. But this time he's going to be prepared. He's going to know what he doesn't know. And he's going to know what to do to know all that stuff he doesn't know. I think that's going to really aid Justin Herbert, and it's going to comfort teams wondering in the top 10 of the draft, can we trust this guy to be our starter year one? I know that's a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback, but I think teams ask that question. Nowadays, you just don't have a guy on the bench for a year. It doesn't happen. Maybe it doesn't need to happen. We'll talk about that. I still have a couple more minutes with you. And I want to talk about rushing. Not sports rushing, necessarily. But I want to talk about how we've adjusted, how we've reprioritized, how our lives have been changed in the last month. And it really brings me to a sports idea. We'll get to this in a minute. I know now that when my day is crammed, I eat less. If I have a lot on my plate at work, I have a little less on my plate at lunchtime. Or the big one for me, if I know, hey, 8 in the morning is going to be busy, and I have a 10 a.m. conference with my coworkers, and I've got projects at 11, like the podcast I tape every week with Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck, and I have the show that I need to prep, and I have the show starting at 4 and run until 6, and then I'm going to be too tired to do anything. Honestly, there's some mornings where I don't make breakfast. I prioritize lunch and dinner, but breakfast gets thrown on the back burner because I just don't have time. Got to make breakfast. I don't have time to make breakfast, so no breakfast. That happens. When I'm in a rush, that's what I do. That's how I adjust. How about you? 541-630-4792. What do you cut out when you're crammed for time? When you have that really busy day, you get stuck in traffic at work, or you've got to go somewhere to run an errand. You got to drop the kids off at school, something like that. What do you cut when you need to cut things out of your day? I ask that question because I think there's a lot of teams, not just in the NFL, but in pro basketball, pro baseball, in the college ranks, that are going to approach that question soon. Oregon, you're going to have to get ready for a season without any spring camp. What do you cut out? What don't you teach your players? NBA, you've got to prepare. Let's say you are the Bucks, and you're the number one team in the Eastern Conference, and the NBA says, we are coming back, and you got a week to prepare. What do you do? What do you cut? What don't you do? I think it's a serious question, and for sports that don't have a good answer to that question, like the NFL really is in a bind. To bring this all full circle, I shared a quote from a doctor in the Santa Clara area. And that's the home city of the 49ers. That's where Levi's Stadium is, where the Niners have their home games. And he said, I don't expect sports until Thanksgiving. And even then, we would be lucky to have it by Thanksgiving. I think what he's getting at is, in the NFL, with a 500-page playbook and all the language and all the rules, it takes time to train your team. And they might not have time. And if they don't have time, I don't know if they have a season. We'll talk about that Monday. A reason why we've got a Beaver football broadcast tomorrow, 4 o'clock right here. That's been the Friday norm last couple of weeks. We're going to do it again, airing a very painful game for yours truly. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I grew up a Golden Domer homer. Well, tomorrow, 4 o'clock, you get to hear the Beavs beat up on my Golden Domers in the 0-1 Fiesta Bowl. You will listen to that game. I probably won't. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to relive that memory. But Oregon State beating Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl, best Beaver team of my lifetime. We're going to air that game tomorrow right here, and I'm looking forward for you to listen to that. And then Monday, I'll be back right here talking sports, getting you uniquely local perspective right here. 4 o'clock every day, Southern Oregon Sports Talk, presented by Medford BMW. Thanks for listening.